Now we recognize the Honorable Benny Abante.
Madam Chair, just being able to answer the manifestation of Congressman Nasal, binanggit po niya kasi yung rapid encashment no, na hindi impeachable offense. No? Rapid encashment of 125 million in just 11 days in December 2022. Kaya nga po meron tinatawag tayong systematic irregularity because of this rapid encashment. No? The complaint includes evidence of fabricated or defective receipts and unverifiable pays used to liquidate confidential funds in both the OVP and the DepEd. That's the reason why naniniwala po kami dito sa impeachment complaint na ito. Salamat po.
Thank you. Now we proceed to the third ground of the fourth impeachment complaint. The chair will read graft and corruption, bribery, procurement irregularities, command responsibility, citing as specific offenses the following: malversation, failure to disclose the accumulation of unexplained wealth, command responsibility and agency liability, pattern indicative of graft and unwarranted benefits, and finally, bribery and procurement-related corruption. Now we open the floor for the manifestation of the justice members.
Madam Chair.
The Honorable Suwan.
Madam Chair, to reiterate, the requirement of substance is met if there is a recital of facts constituting the offense charged and determinative of the jurisdiction of this committee. Sufficiency in substance does not require proof of guilt. It requires proof that the charge is worthy to be heard. So, if we go to the third ground, it alleges bribery, which is among one of the most serious constitutional charges that can be leveled against a public official. A charge which, by its very nature, demands the highest degree of factual specificity, which means, Madam Chair, that in the complaint, there must be contained very specific factual allegations, which, if you read them together, they will be considered as bribery, and that this bribery must be connected to the Vice President and not just to her subordinates. And that is what we would like to find out today from the endorsers. So with that in mind, Madam Chair, may I request the endorsers, either Chairman Benny Abante or Deputy Speaker Paulo Ortega, to kindly identify which specific ultimate facts in the complaint directly attribute the alleged act of bribery to the Vice President and not just to her subordinates.
The endorsers are requested by the Honorable Suwan to cite the specific facts that constitute the offense of bribery. This is with regards to our third ground of the fourth impeachment complaint. I understand that this pertains to the giving of envelopes to the DepEd officials, which are the same videos that were played in our yesterday's hearing. May we hear from the endorsers?
Madam Chair, numerous DEPs and acknowledgement receipts, list of payees, could not be verified by the PSA. It was very much well chronicled during the hearings. Lumabas po yung mga napakasikat po na mga pangalan. If naaalala nyo pa sila, Mary Grace Piatos, sila Miggy Mango. I'm sure all of you are familiar with this. Certainly, there were ghost beneficiaries or conduits for diversion, and the presence of duplicated names, repeated handwritings, patterns, and receipts dated 2023 to 20, but claimed 2022, and the expenditures indicated fabrication and backdating design to conceal the true disposition of these funds, Madam Chair.
Honorable Suwan,
Madam Chair,
the Honorable Abante. Your question, Honorable Suwan, is about bribery.
Yes, Madam Chair. Are there specific allegations in the complaint which talks about, which if you take them together, will amount to bribery? And can these be connected directly to the Vice President?
So just for the record, the Honorable Suwan is asking about the specific acts that constitute the offense of bribery as cited in our third ground of the fourth impeachment complaint. The Honorable Abante.
I remember, Madam Chair, that we have conducted the hearing in the Committee on Good Government, no, chaired by Congressman Joel Chua, of which I was the Vice Chair. And there, we have actually heard and exposed the allegations of bribery. For example, like the allegations of monetary gifts to DepEd officials. Nabanggit na po kahapon yan yung mga pangalan. There are witness statements and documentary patterns indicate that monetary gifts or payments were distributed to DepEd officials holding procurement-related functions, creating a plausible nexus between payments and favorable procurement outcomes. No? Of course, sa amin, such conduct, if proven, constitute bribery and corrupt influence in procurement processes. Now, of course, there are procurement irregularities na amin din pong ipinakita doon sa Committee on Good Government. Oo. Bribery and procurement corruption violate RA number 3019 and other procurement laws and regulations. So we could be able to submit later on, Madam Chair, all of the names. Of course, yesterday, ay pinag-usapan na po ito, even the names have been mentioned, Madam Chair and Congressman Tuwan.
Honorable Ortega.
To add lang, Madam Chair, the DepEd records show the procurement actions and the contract of awards that coincide with the temporarily with the suspicious payments and their transfers as well.
Madam Chair,
Honorable Suwan.
is there any evidence attached or annexed to the complaint which would support these allegations? Just for formality's sake.
We have annexes here of the bribery and everything. In fact, we have acknowledgement receipts to the tune of 50,000, 30,000, 100,000. You could be able to see it here.
I wish to share to the members that the video are part of the evidence to support the fourth impeachment complaint. May I just confirm this from the endorsers? The videos that were played yesterday, videos of Yusek Mercado, Catalan, and Osayas.
Yes, that is, Madam Chair, that is what we're referring to.
So we're stating for the record that those videos played yesterday forms part as well of the evidence in support of the fourth impeachment complaint, specifically with respect to the third ground.
Yes.
The Honorable Suwan.
Madam Chair, are there documentary evidence attached to the complaint regarding this allegation of bribery?
Yeah, Madam Chair, we have already said that there are a lot of documentary evidence here that I'm holding.
And are these documentary evidence certified through copies?
there are acknowledgement receipts, as I've said a while ago, Madam Chair, and I believe that Congressman Suwan can come over and be able to see all of the documentary evidence that we have. Napakarami kasi, no? It would take time for us to be able to.
May we confirm
say-
from the endorser if the attachments pertain to the COA documents?
I believe so. In fact, if we could be able to actually even call upon the forensic review of all of the accounts and expenses that have been done by the Office of Vice President.
Honorable Suwan?
Madam Chair, I am asking these questions because I believe that the standard of sufficiency in substance exists for a reason. It is not to make things easy. It is not to make things hard. It is to make things honest. That is all, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
Thank you. The Honorable Rodriguez?
Thank you. Madam Chair, in Article 3, it is quite surprising because it puts in the allegation itself on the impeachment grounds, two grounds which are not in the Constitution. Articles 1 and 2 is really precise because they, for example, Article 2 is betrayal of public trust and graft and corruption. Here, they have included procurement irregularities. It is not part of the 6 grounds as enumerated in the Constitution, nor common responsibility. Probably, this should have been the parenthesis in support of graft and corruption and bribery. In other words, Article 3 are really on graft and corruption, number 4 in the list, and of course, and then bribery third in the list of impeachable offenses. Now, Madam Chair, graft and corruption, there is no recital, nor about bribery. They are still saying that they will be proving later on. There is no bribery. Is really governed by the revised penal code, whether on a criminal level or as part of the to support the impeachable offense of graft and corruption and bribery. And so therefore, Madam Chair, there is no recital of facts in this. So, graft and corruption, bribery, there is no clear recital of facts of how. Well, the elements are conducted so that it will clearly show that there was the sufficiency in substance. Now we go to procurement irregularities. This together with bribery are on DepEd. I will not anymore. Following the chairman's decision, I will just state that we have no jurisdiction on bribery and procurement because DepEd, that's it. We will not elaborate that. Command responsibility, Madam Chair. Command responsibility is the doctrine that was adopted way back in the Nuremberg trial of the Nazi. That was the start of command responsibility. Even if they did not be the one to kill Jews and everybody, in that particular case, the Nuremberg court convicted them, Goering, all the others, because of command responsibility. So that is a doctrine started by war crimes in the Second World War. And then, Madam Chair, this doctrine was extended to crimes against humanity because of the Srebrenica massacre in the former Yugoslavia. And so now, these doctrines are really related to war crimes and crimes against humanity. Now, the thing is, the Supreme Court, Madam Chair, has extended this to the Philippine situation, in the Supreme Court case, where it's true that this started as war crimes and so forth, but if there is a showing of 3 elements and one of them is that there is knowledge of conspiracy, then it can be used. However, I do not see here a recital that there is conspiracy by the Vice President with those who were implementing, allegedly, these illegal acts. So therefore, Madam Chair, very clear that Article 3 is utterly insufficient in substance. graft and corruption, no recital, bribery, procurement, no jurisdiction, command responsibility. There is no statement of conspiracy. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other member who
Madam
wishes to
Chair.
comment on the third ground?
Madam Chair.
The endorser, Honorable Ortega, is recognized.
Quick response lang, Madam Chair. During the past hearings, we have seen the procurement records. Nakita naman natin yung mga records dati and how they are linked to instances with suppliers, yung connection nila sa mga recipients, sa mga suspicious payments, mga received sa awards. Ginamit po itong procurement para pandiskarte, para mailabas po yung mga kailangan. Siyempre, pag yung supplier, kakilala, kaklose nung mga tao connected sa mga nagpapasupply, siyempre, may nagagamit po na pera dyan, may pinapasok na pera. So, the procurement was part of the scheme. Yun lang po, Ma'am Chair.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
The Honorable Abante.
I might agree with Congressman Rufus on the conspiracy angle, no? But I would think that there is command responsibility and direct participation. It might not be Gestapo-like, but of course, yun mga staff ng Vice President will not act on these things without direct participation of their boss. You see, hindi naman pwedeng gumawa sila ng mga bagay-bagay na hindi alam ng kanilang boss tungkol dito, Madam Chair. Yun lang po.
Madam Chair,
Madam Chair, just to answer.
Honorable Rodriguez and then Honorable Nazal.
But here, there is no. Am I recognized?
Yes, you are recognized.
Precisely. Madam Chair, what is stated here is command responsibility, not direct participation. So if you go through the recital of facts, it is not what the Honorable Abante has said, because it is, if you will read here very clear, it is stated here, it's about command responsibility. It would have been different if he was have said direct participation. It is not alleged here the direct participation, Madam Chair, of the Secretary on the employees of the DepEd. And again, once again, there is no jurisdiction of this committee on all this bribery and this procurement, because these are DepEd. He are acting as Secretary. Duterte versus House of Representatives, the Constitution, Administrative Code of 1987, it should be acts done by the Vice President in relation to her office as Vice President. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
Honorable Abante.
Madam Chair.
The Office of the Vice President Disbursement Voucher and Liquidation Report bear respondent certification and approval. Pangalawa, when we had the hearing in the Committee on Good Government, the staff testified that they acted on instructions from the head of agency. Ito naman po regular naman to sa lahat ng institutions This fact support, ano yon? Direct liability. The head of agency who approves and certifies disbursements, who instructs SDOs to turn over cash to intermediaries, cannot disclaim responsibility, Madam Chair. Thank you.
I just wish to invite the attention of the justice members that yes, in yesterday's hearing, the Honorable De Lima read and presented the certifications signed by the Vice President as attesting party to the DepEd official in support of the utilization of confidential funds. I believe this is with respect to the military officers' activity. So that is for the
Madam
record.
Chair, we did not anymore try to repeat all of the evidences here because the evidences have been already talked about and discussed yesterday. Tama na po siguro yun.
Thank you.
Point of
that
order, Madam
concludes-
Chair. Point of order. Madam
There's
Chair,
a point of order. Honorable Defensor.
may I bring up again our rule that this is only a determination based on a recital of facts in the complaint. And it is only a determination of sufficiency in substance. let's save this for trial. Let's hear the members, but let's do it quickly based on the intentions of our framers to expedite impeachment proceedings based on the Constitution.
The point of order is sustained. The justice
Chair.
members are reminded to confine the deliberation to the determination of sufficiency in substance. The
Madam
justice
Chair.
members are further reminded that the discussions on the same grounds in the third impeachment complaint have been adopted. So kindly confine your manifestation to new matters only. The Honorable Tino.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, upon reading this part of the fourth complaint, I would say that the allegation of bribery and procurement lacks a recital of facts. No, let me read. The only time this complaint mentions bribery is in paragraph 171. And it says here, witness statements and documentary patterns indicate that monetary gifts or payments were distributed to DepEd officials holding procurement-related functions, creating a plausible nexus between payments and favorable procurement outcomes. Okay, that's a good starting point. However, there is no further elaboration or narration of facts as to which officials in particular were bribed, what particular transactions, if any, were involved, the amounts, and so on and so forth. So, medyo in this case po, ay wala na pong ibang narration of facts eh. Kaya medyo kulang po. Unlike in the third complaint, na nakapangalan po yung mga opisyal ng DepEd na allegedly tumanggap and so on and so forth. So yun lang po ang obserbasyon ko dito. Medyo kulang yung narration of facts which is required in order to substantiate the ground of graft and corruption. Yun lang po ang obserbasyon ko rito.
The manifestation is noted. Any other manifestation?
Madam Chair.
The Honorable Nasal.
Thank you, Madam
We're
Chair.
still on the third ground.
Yes, ma'am. Article 3 alleges bribery, pero gaya ng nilinaw sa PBBM proceedings, bribery requires the pleading of a complete quid pro quo equation. Ito ay nangangailangan ng malinaw na paglahad ng mga sumusunod. An identified bribe giver, an identified bribe taker, a specific official act influenced. Magkano ang naging usapan?
Point of order, Madam Chair.
At isang malinaw na
There's a point of order. Let's hear the point of order first. Before we proceed, the Honorable Ridon is recognized.
Mula po kanina, yung ating pong kaibigan, si Congressman Nazal, ulit-ulit niyang meron po siyang reference to the BBM impeachment complaint relating to these things, no? Pero umupo po tayong lahat eh. It was just like 2 weeks ago, Madam Chair. Pero I don't remember any reference of these particular types of discussion to the BBM complaint. So maybe I have forgotten it, maybe I have misheard it, but I'm quite certain that the 2 points that our colleague had stated had absolutely no reference to the BBM impeachment complaint, Madam Chair. I think what was clarified, and it was I who clarified it, is the point that mahalaga po yung usapin ng personal knowledge at authentic documents sa mga usapin po sa pag-uusap po natin. And nothing more. So I think we have to direct our good colleague to clarify as to which particular reference to the BBM impeachment complaint has he been referring to in this particular instance and in the previous instance that he had referred to in the BBM impeachment complaint.
The Honorable Nasal, please respond to the point of order.
I will cite the specific rulings done during the previous
Is it your intention to enlighten the committee about the difference in the procedure
Hindi,
with regards to, in comparison to the last impeachment hearing against the president?
the intention, ma'am, is to just be consistent with all the rulings that were held during the previous.
You may proceed.
No, just to be clear, Madam Chair, I don't think anyone's stopping our colleague from saying his manifestation. I think what needs to be clarified is that I don't think the BBM impeachment complaint standard has no relevancy to the discussion that he wanted to provide today. In the previous discussion that he stated and the previous discussion that he's stating now. Kasi nga ho, the standard that has been discussed last time was very specific to the matter of authentic documents and personal knowledge. Wala ho tayong pinag-usapan, labas pa ho roon.
With
So,
all due respect, it was pronounced by the chair during the start of our impeachment proceeding against the vice president that we will be adopting the same parameter, the same procedure that we used in the impeachment proceeding against the president.
Yun lang naman po ang hinihingi natin, ma'am.
If you have a clear disparity to point out, yes, you may proceed, Honorable Nasal.
I was just pointing out, referencing to certain actions done during the previous hearing, ma'am.
Kindly point out the disparity that you have observed so far.
Wala naman ako sinasabing disparity, ma'am. I was just pointing.
Well, if there is no disparity between the previous and the current proceeding, perhaps you should just go straight to your manifestation.
Yes, ma'am.
With respect to our third ground, which
I was
is the
not
subject
pointing
matter
out,
of our
ma'am, to
current
any disparity. I
deliberation.
was just saying, I was just referencing na,
All right.
na dapat pareho lang.
I think the chair has to rule, Madam Chair, because allowing him to proceed without ruling on the point of order would basically impinge on our previous proceedings.
Madam
The
Chair.
point of order is sustained. The Honorable Nasal is enjoined from making reference to the impeachment proceeding against the President. Please go direct to your manifestation in relation to our ground for impeachment, subject matter of our current deliberation.
Okay, ma'am, I'll just continue. Pag binasa natin ang Article 3, it alleges movements of funds and operational handling, ngunit hindi nito malinaw na tinukoy ang isang corrupt agreement, hindi rin nito tinukoy ang kung anong official act ang di umano'y na impluensyahan, at wala rin malinaw na aligasyon ng personal benefit na natanggap ng respondent. Ang kahina-hinalang daloy ng pondo ay hindi otomatikong nangangahulugan ng bribery. Conclusions of law cannot replace ultimate facts. Tulad ng paulit-ulit na ipinatupad sa prior sufficiency determinations, narrative detail alone does not cure the absence of essential elements. Dahil dito, Article 3 likewise fails to meet the required threshold of sufficiency in substance. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Congressman Nazal. There are no other members who would like to make a manifestation on Article 3. We now move on to Article 4. Bribery, procurement irregularities, and corruption. Any member who wishes to make a manifestation on this article?
Mr. Chairman,
Congressman Rufus Rodriguez.
again, Article 4 does not provide for the six grounds for impeachment. Only one, bribery. In the title of Article 4, it says bribery, procurement irregularities, and related corruption. These are not found in the Constitution, only bribery. And then, there's a parenthesis down there which says Department of Education, Transactions, and Monetary Gifts. In other words, again, as a whole, just to, not to belabor the point, but just to state that my continuing objection to the jurisdiction of this committee on acts of former Secretary Sara Duterte in the DepEd. Plus, Mr. Chairman, there is also no clear recital of this bribery, to whom, how much, who gave. In other words, there is completely no recital in these things. And so therefore, I would say that Article 4 we have no jurisdiction and has no recital of facts and therefore should be dismissed. Thank you.
Your
Mr. Chair.
continuing objection is noted, Congressman Rufus Rodriguez. Congressman Santay.
Yes, Mr. Chair, while I maintain the same position that her actions as DepEd Secretary should have no bearing in this impeachment complaint, I would like to further elucidate on Article 4 on the alleged bribery. Now, ang Article 4 ay nagsasabi may bribery sa DepEd procurement activities. Ang pangunahing allegation, respondent distributed monetary gifts and other advantages to certain officials of the DepEd connected with procurement activities. Nagpakita pa nga tayo kahapon ng 3 video pero kahit dun sa video yung ipinakita nung 3 opisyal na nagbigay ng mga statement, hindi rin malinaw kung paano naging bribery ang alleged envelopes o monetary gift. Yung kay Mercado, dun sa pinakitang video, sinabi niya nakakuha siya ng envelope, parte raw siya ng back, pero dun sa narration niya, in fact, meron raw bidding na hindi natuloy. So, para saan yung pera? Hindi rin naman pala natuloy yung bidding. So, si Osayas naman, sinabi niya, hindi siya, may nakuha siya, pero hindi naman daw siya membro ng back. Hindi rin sinaad kung ano yung pinagawa sa kanya. Sa bribery, kailangan ipakita ang quid pro quo. May binigay na pera o benefit, kapalit ng specific official acts. Sa complaint, binasa natin to, hindi pinakita kung anong procurement decision ang allegedly binili. Hindi rin malinaw kung ang mga acts na ginawa ng DepEd officials ay hindi talaga parte ng kanilang regular duties. Kung ang ginawa ng official ay expected functions of their office, mahirap i-frame yon as bribery. Mas lalo pang malalabo kung ang allegation ay dahil sariling statement lang ng mga taong ipinakita. Kung hindi niya binuksan ng envelope, hindi rin malinaw. Kung may pera nga sa loob, kung magkano, kung anong laman, well, that was based on the statement of Mercado. Pero ang kailangan ipakita natin, meron bang ginawang kapalit at saan nanggaling yung pera? Because there was just an assumption that it came from DepEd funds. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Congressman Santay. Any other member? Was a manifestation on as far as Article 4 is concerned.
Thank you.
Congressman Chua.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, we have discussed this issue thoroughly yesterday, and I think we should move on to the next ground. And I maintain my position with respect to Article 4. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Congressman Chua. Any other member? There being none, then we proceed to Article 5. Unexplained wealth, salon violations, bank records, and financial forensics. Any member who wishes to make a manifestation on this article?
Yes.
Congressman Rufus Rodriguez.
Mr. Chairman, here, there is no statement. There is no proposition that one of the 6 grounds or more of the Constitution has been violated. Unexplained wealth is not in the Constitution. Salon violations is not in the Constitution. Bank records, financial forensics are not in the Constitution. However, let's take this. As probably I will now be able to assume, arguendo, that this may be to be able to support the betrayal of public trust. But Mr. Chairman, the problem with Article 4 is that there are absolutely no recital of facts constituting the offense charge because we don't even have the offense charge. There is no statement of either culpable violation of the Constitution. Second is treason. Third, Mr. Chairman, is bribery. Fourth is graft and corruption. Fifth is other high crimes. And sixth, betrayal of public trust. Nothing in Article 5 of this fourth impeachment complaint. So clearly, there is no recital of facts. How is there unexplained wealth? There is no statement that the Vice President received so much money and has deposited so much money, has acquired so much properties, that there is unexplained wealth. Because this is also defined under Republic Act 1379, RA 1379, which is the civil forfeiture of illegally acquired wealth. Nothing. Nothing on this. Also, there is no statement of which SALN violations. Because in the third complaint, it was the SALN from 2007 to 2017 as he was vice mayor and mayor. But nothing on SALNs from 2022 when she became vice president, June 30, 2022 up to now. Nothing. There's no statement here. So the second will again fall, the violations. Bank records. What bank records are you talking about? There is no attachment of any bank record or any statement of bank record. And then financial forensics. This is something that is a matter of evidence, not as a ultimate statement of facts. So therefore, Madam Chair, that is why, you see, that is why they are requesting, if you go to page 59, you look at this. This is not a recital of facts. What does it say? 59. 247 paragraph. To determine the existence and extent of unexplained wealth and SALN violations, I respectfully request, Attorney Cabrera, respectfully request that the Honorable House of Representatives, through the appropriate committee, take the following actions. Issue subpoena. We are not yet there. The only problem with this is a clear request for a fishing expedition against the Vice President. So very clear. In Article 4, there is nothing that recites facts that will lead us to say that there is a sufficiency of substance, and therefore, very clear, what do they ask here? To order preservation of vault inventories. Can you imagine that in this particular proceeding already asking for us to fish? And then we also have to authorize coordination with COA, the Bureau of Internal Revenue, Anti-Money Laundering Council. But they have to first recite the statement, ultimate facts constituting. There is none, Madam Chair. So therefore, clearly, this particular, by a very in the four corners, under positive law, where you can only look at the four corners, like in this case on finding substance, we have to look at the statements in the four corners of the document. And there's nothing there about all of these allegations. So therefore, Madam Chair, Article 4 as Article 5 as Article 4 false. There is no sufficiency in substance. Thank you, Madam Chair.
The Honorable Po and then the Honorable Suntay.
Madam Chair, of course, with due respect
Madam Chair,
to the previous
may I be
speaker,
allowed to answer after Congressman
Yes,
Suntay?
you will be called after the Honorable Suntay.
Madam Chair, with due
You may
respect to my colleague and someone I believe is very knowledgeable when it comes to the law and the Constitution, I'd like to cite that Article 11, Section 17 of the Constitution is clear that public officers are required to file a true and complete statement of assets, liabilities, and net worth. And this is not a minor administrative requirement. It is a constitutional duty grounded in public accountability. So at this stage, our task, Madam Chair, is quite limited. We're not determining guilt, and we are not conducting a forensic audit. We're deciding whether the allegations are ultimately true. So we are determining sufficiency and substance. And what I have noticed and what I have observed here in this complaint is that as our honorable colleague has mentioned, there seems to be no SALN copies, no bank records, and no forensic financial reports attached to this complaint. However, I wouldn't say it's a fishing expedition. So if I may ask some points of clarification to our sponsor, our colleague, Rep. Abante, I'd like to ask...
The endorsers' attention are invited regarding questions to be raised by the Honorable Po.
To further give, I guess, light to this issue, may I ask what specific transactions, properties, accounts, asset increases are being cited indicative of unexplained wealth? Or maybe are there particular salin years where material omissions were alleged?
May we hear from our endorsers?
Well, to add, Madam Chair, the complaint narrates that the forensic records of the VP reveal glaring discrepancies as to the inflows and the transfers of funds in her banks as compared to her declared income in her SALN po. These discrepancies do not account by any lawful income or declaration of gifts, thereby giving the rise for reasonable inference or originated from illicit resources, Madam Chair.
You are referring to the income of the Vice President vis-a-vis what appears in her account. Honorable Ortega, may we hear your confirmation?
Yes,
Madam Chair, which account? Which bank records? Because we are here, ultimate facts. Which bank account, which bank record are we talking about here if it's stated here? Because I have read this thoroughly 3 times already and I did not see any.
Madam Chair.
Yeah, but maybe ask first our endorser. Because we have to have ultimate facts. When you say bank records, then you have a duly authenticated bank statement given by the bank.
With all due respect to the Honorable Rodriguez.
Yes, ma'am.
Let us all be reminded of the bank secrecy law. While the bank account is significant, I think we are not in the position to expect the complainants to provide specific details of these accounts in view of the bank secrecy law. And we all understand that impeachment proceeding is the only avenue by which the complainants may be able to look into this and perhaps avail of the documents necessary to support this specific ground. That is for the record. The honorable endorsers are recognized to respond to the Honorable Rodriguez.
therefore the need for forensic financial review, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
Let's go back to the Justice member who raised this question. The Honorable Poe is again recognized.
So continuing on that point and manifestation, since there are no documents or bank records that could be cited, was there maybe any sworn testimony, public disclosures, audit findings, financial statements, or comparative SALN data over the years that may have been used as the basis for this ground?
The Honorable Poe is asking about the specific documents or evidence in support of the fifth ground of the fourth impeachment complaint. That is in view of the bank secrecy law. What therefore are the evidence so far attached or considered in support of the fifth ground of the fourth impeachment complaint?
Madam Chair, it would not be automatic for us to be able to tell those banks no because of the bank secrecy law. That's the reason why pinag-uusapan natin, yung impeachment complaint na ito, lalabas po ito sa trial. We are not yet in the trial. We are just talking about the sufficiency of substance dito. Meron bang sufficiency of substance na pinag-uusapan natin? Meron. But in everything in this, I would like to tell our colleagues here, no, na this will all come out in the trial, in the impeachment court. You see, yun po ang nais kong sabihin sa lahat.
The Honorable Rodriguez.
In answer to my good chairman, the Committee on Human Rights, there has to be a recital of facts. And in a recital of facts, there must be a reference to testimonies about bank accounts, if we cannot get the bank accounts. In other words, there has to be a nexus of the statement about irregularity in SALN and bank records by having itself the bank records, the SALNs. And so therefore, it is totally devoid of any particular recital of facts, because that is what we need. We cannot go further if there's no recital of facts constituting the offense charge. Because in fact, you know, the statement of Honorable Brian Poe that there is a requirement in the Constitution of SALN, whatever it is not in the 6. To construe the constitutional provisions, you are very much limited to the enumeration. Use them generis. If it's not in the, it's not in the enumeration, it cannot be a ground. So again, culpable violation of the Constitution. Second, treason. Third, bribery. Fourth, graft and corruption. Other high crimes, bitter public trust. No statement about having an inaccurate or untruthful SALN as a ground for impeachment. So that is what we have. We have to therefore have that. So just to be able to respond to the statement that there is a violation of the Constitution that is culpable. It is not, Madam Chair. In fact, those in the SALN can even be able to reform and refile a corrected one. Madam Chair.
Madam
The
Chair.
Honorable Defensor,
Madam Chair.
and
Thank
then
you.
the Honorable Abante.
Thank you. Madam Chairman, the most democratic way to settle this, whether there is a recital of facts or not, is to follow the rulings of the Supreme Court that in impeachment proceedings, each member is allowed to decide for himself how to appreciate the recital of facts or the evidence. And the best way to do that is by voting later on. So let's proceed and let's not stall anymore. Thank you.
We invite the
Chair.
attention of the members to the manifestation of the Honorable Defensor. There is no quantum of evidence required in determining the sufficiency in substance. And in the case of Merceditas Gutierrez, it has been upheld by the Supreme Court that the decision rests to the exclusive judgment of the individual members of the Justice Committee.
Madam Chair.
I think that rests our discussion
Madam Chair.
on
let me
this
just-
specific
Madam Chair,
ground.
Let me just answer.
The Honorable Abante.
As an endorser, no, let me just answer the statement of Congressman Rufus. Of course, not being a lawyer, but of course, a very good student of law, no, legal doctrine, as explained in the case of Gutierrez, nabanggit na kanina, no, versus HOR, Committee on Justice. An impeachment complaint is sufficient in substance when it recites facts that, assuming their truth, constitute an impeachable offense and are determinative of the committee's jurisdiction. Yun po yung binanggit kanina ni Congressman Lawrence. It is not yet a full-blown trial on the merits. Oh, because sufficiency in substance, as has been said, requires a recital of facts that, assuming the truth, sapagkat lahat po ito allegations pa lang eh, assuming their truth constitute an impeachable offense and establish the committee's jurisdiction. Therefore, an impeachment complaint that is conclusory, fact-bare, or effectively unsupported despite verification is vulnerable to being found insufficient. Yun po ang gusto kong sabihin, no? Now, pinag-usapan yung recital of ultimate facts dito. The fourth complaint that we are endorsing is sufficient in substance because it does not rely on mere constitutional labels or generic accusations as accused by Congressman Rufus. Hindi lang ito basta nagsabi ng betrayal of public trust or culpable violation ng walang detalye sapagkat nakalagay na po lahat eh, di ba? Instead, it pleads a concrete recital of facts constituting the offense charge and determinative of the committee's jurisdiction. Sa madaling salita, may malinaw na salaysay na mga pangyayari, may petsa, may halaga, may dokumento, at may testigo. Hindi ito puro haka-haka o opinion lamang. So in particular, the complaint alleges a public admission on 23 November 2024 regarding constructing an assassin, for example, together with the Alice non-retraction and reiteration of that statement. It situates these allegations within their factual context, security implications, legal theory, expressly invoking culpable violation of the Constitution, betrayal of public trust, and other high crimes which are constitutional ground for impeachment under the 1987 Constitution. Ibig sabihin, hindi lamang sinabi na may kasalanan. Ipaniliwanag kung ano ang sinabi, kailan sinabi, paano ito nakaapekto sa seguridad ng bansa at bakit ito pumapasok sa mga grounds of impeachment. The complaint likewise alleges, allegations pa rin, ano po, specific confidential funds transactions and supporting particulars, including, for example, pinag-usapan na kahapon to, 125 million in cash on December 20, 2022. ALE's liquidation within 11 days. ALE's COA disallowance of 73,287,000. ALE's irregularities such as duplicate pays, PSA certifications of non-existent records, and fabricated receipts. And it also cites an identified affiant, Ramil Madriaga, and references relevant documentary records. Mahalaga ito dahil may eksaktong halaga eksaktong petsa at tinukoy ng mga dokumento at affidavit. Hindi ito simpleng akusasyon lamang. May mga kalakip na ebidensya at pangalan ng testigo. These particulars matter dahil sinabi ng Korte Suprema na, I quote, mere allegation is not evidence. And that verification presupposes reliance on documents and other pertinent records supporting the allegation. Sa madaling salita, para po maunawaan din ng mga ordinaryong kababayan natin na sumusubaybay sa atin ngayon, hindi pwedeng puro salita lamang. Kailangan may batayan. At dito may tinutukoy ng mga dokumento at opisyal na record na lalabas po yan. Hindi lang po siguro natin pwedeng sabihin 24 hours, lalabas ka dito. Meron po tayong sinusunod na batas tungkol dito. So finally, the fourth complaint alleges discrete acts of obstruction of oversight, including, nabanggit na po kahapon to, refusal to answer questions in House hearings, Alice instruction to COA not to comply with a subpoena, entry into House premises during detention days. Maraya po mga bagay, mga colleagues, Madam Chair. Yun lang po ang gusto kong sabihin dito.
Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
The Honorable po, then the Honorable Chua, the Honorable Suntay, and the Honorable De Lima.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, the reason why I asked earlier about the sworn statements, etc., is because I believe what the endorser was saying about the Madriaga complaint served as the trigger for this ground, no? And that basically I'm asking these questions to show that if we are allowed to proceed to merit, we immediately would be able to determine whether or not this ground really does stand. Because as mentioned earlier, there are certain documents which would be critical to this ground, which if they were disclosed, would immediately determine the innocence or the guilt of the parties involved. Which is why it makes a strong argument as to why we should move to merit already.
The
Madam Chair,
Honorable po is saying to proceed
Madam Chair, may I answer
with our
that for a
impeachment
while?
proceeding to be able
Madam
for
Chair.
us to know
Madam Chair, just a
the
short
veracity of the
answer, no?
allegation on this particular ground. Honorable
Just-
Abante, kindly wait until
just a
the
short
Honorable
one,
Chua is
Mr.
finished.
Madam Chair.
Madam
If we
Chair,
are on
let
trial
me,
Honorable
right now,
Abante.
can we call the witnesses?
I am recognized.
Can we ask the committee to call the witnesses? Because we can call them.
That will happen after the determination of sufficiency in substance.
Madam Chair,
The Honorable Chu is recognized.
thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, considering that the rules of court is suppletory to the rules of impeachment, then probably the remedy is, if there is vague allegation, the remedy is for the respondent to file a bill of particulars. Or probably, Madam Chair, is for her to put it as an affirmative defense in her answer. And then later on, it can be answered in a reply by the complainant. That is the remedy, but not to dismiss this ground or this case. Thank you, Madam Chair.
The Honorable Suntay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, as correctly pointed out, under Article 5, the allegation states, respondents engage in conduct indicative of unexplained wealth and material non-disclosure of her salin. Pero ang malaking problema, pag tinignan natin, hindi naka-attach what salin we are talking about. Kung walang salin na naka-attach, walang baseline para makita natin what was allegedly omitted. Ano yung inconsistent? Then I was looking, going back to complaint, there is no recital eh. So paano natin malalaman which inconsistencies are we talking about? There is 811 pages dito sa complaint. Karamihan ng attachment, acknowledgement receipt, PSA certification, DepEd certification, isang audit memorandum at saka notice of disallowance. Pero both the salary and the bank account being stated, wala naman. Merong allegation of unexplained wealth, pero hindi rin sinabi dito anong basis nung unexplained wealth. Which property are we talking about? What acquisition are we referring to? Without all those things, then the narration of facts is incomplete. There is no nexus, Madam Chair. Thank you very much.
Our parliamentary status is we are determining the sufficiency in substance in line with the fifth ground of the fourth impeachment complaint that corresponds to unexplained wealth and the SALN of the respondent. The Honorable De Lima is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a brief point. Ultimate facts do not pertain to evidentiary facts. So SALNs, bank accounts, bank transactions are evidentiary facts. Now, just to address the belief of some that there is absolutely no averment of fact in relation to Article 5. May nakita po akong isa. I was still trying to look for more because this is a lengthy reading. Paragraph 76. And paragraph 76 is found under the statement of facts, and antecedent facts. And that is before the discussion on the articles, the main discussion of the articles. So we cannot segregate what are discussed or laid down in that portion of statement of antecedent facts with the discussion now. So paragraph 76, as I said, this can fall under a narration or a statement of an ultimate fact. What does it say? Public records and investigative leads indicate the existence of bank accounts, property transactions, and other financial movements that are disproportionate to respondent Sara Duterte's lawful income and not fully reflected in her statements of assets, liabilities, and net worth. Isn't this an essential, material, ultimate fact that can be supported, substantiated during the evidentiary stage of these proceedings? Thank you very much.
The Honorable Nazal and then the Honorable Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Pag binasa po nyo itong mga nakalagay sa Article 5 regarding unexplained wealth, SALN violations, bank records, and financial forensics. Nakalagay lahat sila based on assumptions in preliminary documentary leads, hindi po solid proof. It keeps saying that a forensic review will uncover unexplained assets, but as of now, wala naman napakita yung complaint. Wala man lang attachments na kahit ano to prove itong sinasabi na unexplained wealth. First, the complaint talks about supposed discrepancies in the SALNs, but differences in reporting do not automatically mean someone was dishonest. Hindi po ako abogado, but I'm an economist. Bago po ako naging congressman, alam naman po natin na property values change. Assets can be bought or sold at different times. To immediately label this as pattern of concealment without clear proof of intent is unfair and speculative at best, Madam Chair. Second, kailangan daw po ng forensic financial review to reconcile declared income and assets sa SALN. Identify unexplained inflows or transfers and trace the disposition of public funds alleged to have been diverted. Hindi ba dapat po trabaho ito ng complainant na mapakita ng ebidensya sa reklamo niya para maging sufficient in substance? Third, the complaint points to large cash disbursements from confidential funds and say these correlate with certain financial movements. But yung mismong complaint admits in paragraph 237 that correlation is not conclusive. Suspicion based only on timing does not prove personal gain. So, mag-i-impeach po tayo ng Vice President na binoto ng 32 million na tao na Pilipino dahil lang sa suspetsa. Third, the mention of intermediaries, third-party accounts, corporations, or relatives is likewise made to sound suspicious. But many lawful transactions are done through representatives or business entities. These arrangements are common and legal. Dapat man lang may katibayan o pruweba na ginagamit ang mga ito para sa mga illegal na gawain. Wala naman pinakita na kahit anong dokumento sa complaint. Fourth, alam natin, Madam Chair, na ang bank secrecy is not absolute, pero hindi natin ito dapat ma-set aside based on unverified claims. Investigation should be based on real and credible evidence, not on fishing expeditions in the hope of finding something. Most importantly, ang impeachment ay isang seryosong constitutional process. Kaya dapat it should not be based on guesses or on what someone thinks might be discovered later. The burden is on the accusers to prove actual unexplained wealth. The Vice President should not be expected to disprove mere suspicions. At the end of the day, Madam Chair, Article 5 is asking people to assume guilt based on what might be found later, not on what has clearly been proven now. Allegations and suspicions are not the same as evidence. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Next is the Honorable Rodriguez.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. With due respect to our new Deputy Minority Leader, she tried to explain Article 5, which has zero recital of facts, unexplained wealth, SALN violation, back records, and financial forensics, by going to the statement of facts. And that's she's right, that we can cite that. However, what does paragraph 76 state? Are these recital of facts? I will read, Madam Chair, and it is for all of us to determine whether this is a recital of ultimate facts constituting the offense. It says here, public records and investigative leads indicate existence of bank accounts. What are these public records? What are these investigative leads? You know, Madam Chair, you can see here, the fourth impeachment complaint is really a big volume of annexes. There is no annex on this particular, what are the public records? Nothing. See? What are the investigative lists? There has to be statements. You cannot just say, for example, that there is draft and corruption without also stating the ultimate facts constituting that. You cannot just say, malversation. You cannot do that. There has to be a statement of facts. Now, you say public records. What are these public records? To give us an indication that there's a crime has been committed, that a impeachable offense has been committed. Nothing. And then it says other financial movements. Very vague. Other financial movements. There are a lot of financial movements. In the stock exchange, in the trade and commerce of people. So, what are these financial movements? And they say that are disproportionate to respondents' senators' lawful income and not fully reflected in their salary. Which salary? 2022? 2023? 24? 25? No statement here. It's a general blanket statement. These are not recital of facts. So therefore, paragraph 76 does not support Article 5. So once again, there is absolutely no, that's only insufficient, nothing, no substance in Article 4. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair,
Honorable Ridon.
we'd like to, before indulging...
Before we proceed, may I just acknowledge first the Honorable Paulo Henry M. Marcoleta from Sagip Party List. You may proceed.
Before indulging our good colleague, Congressman Rodriguez, on the public records that is actually looking for, I'd like to read for the record the articles of impeachment of the Corona impeachment process, in which former Chief Justice Renato Corona was convicted, and SALN was one of its bases, no? It was a very general narration of the facts, and I think this should be the same standard because this has undertaken the entirety of the process of impeachment from the express route towards final conviction at the level of the Senate. So I will read it. Madam Chair, (2.4) Respondent is likewise suspected and accused of having ill-gotten wealth, acquiring assets of high values, and keeping bank accounts with huge deposits. It has been reported that respondent has, among others, a 300 square meter apartment in a posh Mega World property development at the Fort in Taguig. Has he reported this as he is constitutionally required under Article 11, Section 17 of the Constitution in his Statement of Assets and Liabilities and Net Worth, SALN? Is this acquisition sustained and duly supported by his income as a public official since his assumption as associate and subsequently Chief Justice? Has he complied with this duty of public disclosure? We are stating it for the record, Madam Chair, because this is the precise wording of the Corona impeachment articles of impeachment which had proceeded to the Senate and had resulted in a conviction, Madam Chair. So I think it is very clear that this is the process that we have to undertake, and what the endorsers would want to undertake during the process of full proceedings can be undertaken. It does not require what our colleague is actually asking today. It would be good had the annexes been there, but is actually not in fact required for full impeachment proceedings to proceed. But I think the crux of the matter is, what is the definition of unexplained wealth, Madam Chair? Because I think this is something that we would want to be able to talk about as well. Yung pong unexplained wealth, mga kaibigan, meron pong very specific definition yan sa atin pong mga batas. A public officer and employee acquires property during their incumbency. So if we are talking about the Vice President, from 2007, from her first year in public office to date. And second element is the amount of property is manifestly out of proportion to their official salary and other confirmed local income. And at this point, I will indulge our colleague about the public records on which this committee can actually take judicial notice of. So I will read to the record, Madam Chair, the totality of the net worth of the Vice President from 2008. 2008, filed December 31, 2008. Net worth, 18,493,617. SALN 2009, net worth, 18,281,000.
May we be clarified, Honorable Ridon, of the reference from which you're reading?
Well, we have the references of the SALNs themselves.
That is the
Madam Chair.
SALN of the Vice President?
And some of the public, available public information relating to the
May
SALNs.
we know specifically which document
Well,
is
I will
that?
present for the record the most recent SALN that had been released by the Ombudsman, Madam Chair. I think it is something that can be flashed on the screen. But I think what should be noted is the original SALN net worth, which was 18 million, Madam Chair. 18 million.
With the indulgence of the Justice members, we will be flashing on screen the document which is the reference of the Honorable Ridon.
Yeah, but to have a starting point, Madam Chair, the original SALN 2008 is 18,493,617. It was filed December 31, 2008. So we will be flashing the SALNs for 2023 and 2024. May we request, Madam Chair, that the Secretary be directed to flash?
For the record, the SALN from which the Honorable Ridon is first referring to is the 2008 SALN, which provides for an 80 million net worth. And with the indulgence of the members, we will be flashing the 2023 and 2024 SALN.
Madam Chair, this is the 2023 SALN. We can proceed to see the totality, the net worth, Madam Chair. 2023, can we go down further, please? A little bit down. Ayan, net worth po. Net worth for 2023. 77,508,841 pesos. This is for 2023, Madam Chair. Can we flash 2024, Secretariat, please?
Kindly flash the 2024.
Can we
Scroll
go-
down first.
Okay, yeah,
please.
that's correct. For 2024, released by the Office of the Ombudsman, net worth of the Vice President is, can you put it a bit further, please? Up.
Down, please.
88,512,370.22. So we are submitting it for the record because these are public records which our colleague had actually asked for. And if we will base it from the original SALN at 2008 to the 2024 SALN, Madam Chair, it is an increase of more than, I think, 1,200%. So we leave it to the Justice Committee as to whether or not we would consider it.
There was an increase of 10
As a-
million pesos, Madam Chair.
Sorry?
From 77 million to...
No, the original
88.
SALN at 2008.
How
Which
much
was-
is the 2008 SALN?
18 million.
1.8. Is it 1.8 or 80?
1.8.
It's 1.8 million. Do you have a copy of the SALN also of 2008?
We will locate it, Madam Chair.
So, we're stating for the record, it was being shared to us by the Honorable Ridon that for 2008 SALN, the net worth is 1.8 million. And now we are shown by 2023 and 2024 SALN, which shows net worth of 77 million and 88 million respectively. Do you have any additional manifestation?
That is correct, Madam Chair. So we leave it to the House Committee on Justice to make a determination on whether the comparison between the original SALN at 2008 and the current SALN at 2024 constitutes unexplained wealth, which is essentially part of the impeachable offenses that we would want to proceed with at this point, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair,
The Honorable Rodriguez.
2 points. First point is that the impeachment proceedings in the Committee on Justice against Chief Justice Corona, this representation has attended since 2007, 4 impeachment complaints, which I have been a member of this committee since 2007. The first complaint was against the President, GMA. 2007, I was new, dismissed. Then we have Gutierrez, Residita, she resigned. And then we have Corona. On record, Madam Chair, precisely, this representation voted no to the Corona complaint. Because to me, there was no sufficiency of substance. And in the resolution of the House of Representatives, I voted no. In the Senate, it proceeded because the majority, of course, with the president at the time pushing for that, he was therefore impeached. In other words, the proceedings there are completely different now. I don't know that during the time they allowed it, but here our chairman is making sure that we follow the requirement of substance, that there should be sufficiency in form and substance, and there should be recital of facts. Well, in that particular case, I lost. I was against it. It proceeded. But I voted no. I did not want Chief Justice Corona to be impeached. Later on, it has come out that there have been lobbies with senators to impeach Corona, you see. So, therefore, that is what happened before. But now, Madam Chair, we are with you. You are presiding this very well. And we want to have the real recital of facts constituting the offense charge. And certainly, based on this, and based on the complaint, and based on the annexes, wala. Now, a new matter is injected by our friend, Congressman Ridon, stating about SALNs of 2023, 2024. Is that particular SALN, has that been authenticated by the Ombudsman? Do you have a copy of authentication of the Ombudsman?
Honorable Ridon.
I don't think that is required. It is public record, Madam
Well,
Chair.
you know, there's no automatic authentication, public record, all the records. There has to be authentication. When you go to a proceeding like this, it's the Justice Committee of this country, of the House of Representatives.
Madam Chair.
You cannot just state that it's a public record. Now, where is it? Where is it? Is it found in the complaint? Because we are limited, Madam Chair, to the complaint and to the annexes. Here we are. We're limited with this. To inject something based on the statement, and there is no authentication that we have, there is no such thing as automatic authentication. In any proceeding, you have to authenticate.
No,
So
Madam-
therefore, there can be,
Madam Chair.
unless there is an authentication and the Ombudsman has already certified that, we cannot take cognizance of that particular injection of this new matter in the hearing. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Just to be clear,
Honorable De Lima first, and then Honorable
excuse me,
Po, and then
Madam Chair.
Honorable Ridon.
Authentication can be done at the evidentiary stage. No need for authentication at this point. The committee can subpoena, can request copies of those SALNs from the official custodian, the Office of the Ombudsman. So authentication at this point is not needed. Thank you.
I disagree, Madam Chair. May I be just one sentence? Our
Proceed.
verification. I will read now the verification. Verification of this. What does it say? In the verification of the
Personal
complaint.
knowledge or authentic records.
Yes, precisely. We have to have ultimate statement of facts, personal knowledge of the complainant, Attorney Cabrera, and then of course, here we go. I will read now the verification of Attorney Cabrera. Aha.
I think it was just one
Allegation-
sentence, Madam Chair.
Let
This
us
is one
wait,
sentence.
let us
So
wait
this is my last
until
sentence.
he finishes with his
No, that's three
manifestation.
sentences already, Madam Chair.
My 3 sentences is considered as 1 sentence.
All right, Madam Chair.
The allegations, number 3, the allegations in the complaint are true and correct based on my personal knowledge or based on authentic documents. See? That's very clear. Nobody can debate with that. And if Congressman Ridon says this is authentic, that is his word. We have to get authentic documents signed and duly certified by the Office of the Ombudsman.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Honorable
So, that is
Rodriguez,
5 sentences, but
That,
considered
that
as one.
was one paragraph already. The Honorable Ridon.
Madam Chair, it's a very basic question. That is an irrelevant response. You know why? Because firstly, I am not the complainant. I am not bound by the verification. Hindi ba? Why are you talking about authentic records? I am speaking as a House member and participating in the House Committee on Justice. The point is not on point, Madam Chair. And my question is basically, are we being challenged that what is being presented is actually not the true representation of the SALN of the Vice President for 2023 and 2024? Kasi parang ganun ho yung dating. And more importantly, dinabas ho ito. Nakita ho ng bayan, yung 88 million
Madam Chair.
nalaman po ng SALN. So, think ko, that should not be considered,
Chair.
Madam Chair.
The Honorable Po, and then the Honorable Suntay, and then the Honorable Dilima.
Madam Chair, so we can move forward already. I just want to clarify for the body whether or not the Honorable Congressman Rufus Rodriguez is asking us to ignore the silence that were presented earlier. Is that what we're being asked?
That is precisely to answer. Can I answer, Madam Chair?
You're recognized,
You cannot
Honorable
inject
Rodriguez.
anything not found in the complaint, in the annex. Because then the requirement that Attorney Cabrera, is of personal knowledge and or authentic, that is very clear in all verifications. Authentic.
We go back to Honorable Po.
Well, then, to that point, I believe that we should move into merit so that that can be admitted as part of the evidence, no, in
Madam Chair,
this situation.
well, he's right to ignore it, but Madam Chair, just one last
Yes,
one.
you may
point.
proceed.
Well, he's right to ignore it, but firstly, he was challenging the availability of public records. So we were submitting the public records actually available. And secondly, I am not asking that it be made part of the complaint. This is being submitted for the consideration of the body that it is untrue that public records relating to SALN, unexplained wealth, do not currently exist. It exists. And we had been submitting it for the record, Madam Chair, irrespective of whatever documents that had not been submitted by this complaint. Madam Chair, I submit.
The Honorable Suntay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, Congressman Ridon stated two facts. First, tama yung sinabi niya, he's not a complainant, but he's trying to introduce new documents which he wants us to consider. Second, the document he is trying to introduce is not to the knowledge of the complainant. So we cannot consider it here because it's not part of the complaint.
The Honorable Dilima.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Nothing prevents this committee from directing the production of SALNs as essential documents in determining the facts of these proceedings. Impeachment is sui generis. We have all the plenary power or authority to do that, just to arrive at the correct conclusion, just to substantiate and establish the necessary and essential facts. That is my position, Madam Chair.
Just like any other manifestation of the justice members, the document presented by the Honorable Redon forms part of his manifestation. And
Madam Chair.
therefore, all of your manifestations, including the documents which were shared, will become basis of the judgment of the justice members in determining the sufficiency in substance. That might not be introduced as an evidence yet, but that might be introduced as part of the manifestation of the Honorable Ridon. The Honorable Padiernos.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'd just like to point out in our rules of procedure in impeachment proceedings, under Section 7, kasi pag-usapan po natin yung mga SALN and other documentary evidence. So it says here that the committee shall have the power to issue compulsory processes for the attendance of witnesses and the production of documents and other related evidence. So ibig sabihin po nun, again, at this stage, we're just merely looking at the recital of facts, whether it constitutes an impeachable offense. So I would just like to proceed with my manifestation. So Madam Chair, on Article 5, the committee's task is not to decide whether the respondent actually has unexplained wealth. The question is whether the complaint pleads a coherent theory of liability supported by alleged facts, which, if true, could amount to an impeachable offense. As pleaded, Article 5 alleges that public records and financial leads point to assets and financial movements inconsistent with lawful income and allegedly not fully reflected in SALNs, which, if assumed true, raises a serious accountability issue under the SALN regime and supports a theory of betrayal of public trust. Kaya lang po, meron po tayong case. I just wanted to also share with the committee the case of Salig, where the Supreme Court held that it cautions that errors in SALN do not automatically equate to dishonesty, absent intent and due process. Kasi na-mention din po kanina, it's unfair daw po na kung merong hindi na banggit sa SALN ay automatically liable na dapat yung impeachable officer. So those considerations are matters for later stages. Again, hindi po natin sinasabing guilty ang ating impeachable officer at this point in time. We are merely looking at sufficiency in substance, yung which later on pwede po mag-submit yung ating impeachable officer or respondent ng kanyang mga defenses. So at this stage, the pleaded allegation is that the omissions are material and linked to unexplained wealth indicators, which it would appear would be enough to cross the threshold of sufficiency in substance. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Zamora.
Thank you, Madam Chair. 2 points. First, this is regarding the ultimate facts that must be alleged in a complaint. And this goes for all of the allegations in the impeachment complaint. Salita versus Honorable Magtalis, GR number 106429, June 13, 1994 states, a complaint only needs to state the ultimate facts constituting the plaintiff's cause or causes of action. Ultimate facts has been defined as those facts which the expected evidence will support. As stated by private respondent, the term does not refer to the details of probative matter or particulars of evidence by which these material elements are to be established. It refers to the facts which the evidence on the trial will prove and not the evidence which will be required to prove the existence of those facts. Second point, Madam Chair, we were discussing lengthily about the public documents, the SALN. Public documents follow the self-authentication rule. They do not need further authentication. They should be enough, and their existence as public documents is by itself their authentication. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Honorable De Lima, would you like to make manifestation?
That is exactly my point also, Madam Chair, about the
All right.
self-authentication rule relative to public documents. And SALNs are public documents. When we're able to get them, they are public documents. Thank you.
I think we have made an ample exchange of arguments, in as far as Salen is concerned. But I wish to reiterate that while it is true that we cannot introduce evidence at this stage, those Salens which were flashed by the Honorable Ridon forms part of his manifestation. And therefore, just like any other manifestation of the rest of the members of the Justice Committee, will serve as basis in our determination of the sufficiency in substance. Now we proceed to the next ground. Please allow the chair to read Article 6, Other High Crimes, Pattern of Abuse, Threats, Incitement, Interference with Civilian Supremacy. The offenses specifically cited includes admission plus capability equals grave threat, pattern of conduct demonstrates willful subversion, incitement and public official responsibility, institutional harm, and public confidence. We open the floor for deliberation on the second ground, on the sixth ground.
Madam Chair,
The Honorable Dilima.
this is my observation with respect to the sixth ground, the Article 6. I think it will now be unnecessary for us to further tackle and treat this ground as an article. And that goes through with respect to the last article, Article 7. Because as I was reading it, it's actually just a sort of a discussion, a summation of the discussions, the earlier discussions on the 5 grounds. Other high pattern of abuse, threats, incitement, interference with civilian supremacy. They refer to the same set of facts and allegations. The same is true with respect to Article 7. Article 7 says, pattern of abuse, cumulative misconduct doctrine, remedies, prayer, and verification. So these discussions are not strictly and technically discussions of grounds or articles. It's just really a matter of style that the drafter of this pleading thought it best to also include this in the discussions, but they need not be discussed, considered, and treated as separate grounds or articles. So for me, since there have been sufficient discussion already about the first 5 grounds in relation to also to our discussions yesterday with respect to the third complaint, I think this is unnecessary to further deliberate on this, because it's clear to me they need not be considered as articles, but just a discussion, a summing up, a wrap up. So I move, Madam Chair, to dispense with the consideration or deliberation on both Articles 6 and 7 for the reasons that I stated. I so move.
Second.
Second.
Madam Chair, I second.
Before we act on the motion, let us put on record the manifestation of the Honorable Dilima that the 6th and 7th ground are summation of the 5 prior grounds, and therefore the discussions that we had in the 5 prior grounds, including the discussions we had yesterday already with respect to similar grounds, support already the needed deliberation with respect to the 2 last ground, that is the 6th and the 7th ground. We state that to form part of the transcript of records of our deliberation today. So there is a motion to dispense with the deliberation of Article 6 and Article 7 for the purpose of the determination of sufficiency in substance of the 4th impeachment complaint. The
Second.
same has been seconded. Is there any objection? Hearing none, the motion is hereby approved. The deliberation for the 6th and 7th ground are dispensed with. That concludes the deliberation for the determination of sufficiency in substance of the 4th impeachment complaint. Having said so, then the members are reminded to be ready to vote for the sufficiency in substance, first of the third impeachment complaint, followed by the fourth impeachment complaint.
Madam Chair.
Madam Chair,
Before we proceed, we recognize the Honorable Senior Deputy Speaker, Ferdinand Hernandez.
Madam Chair, this is just a manifestation before we vote on the sufficiency in substance. At this juncture, it is important to clarify for the public what this vote means, and equally important, what it does not mean. Our vote on the sufficiency and substance of the impeachment complaint is not a determination of guilt or innocence on the part of the Vice President. We are not conducting a trial today, nor are we rendering a judgment on the allegations contained in the complaint. What the Constitution requires us at this stage is far more limited but nonetheless essential. The committee is merely determining whether the allegations, assuming them to be true for purposes of evaluation, are sufficient in substance to warrant the continuation of the impeachment process. If the complaint is found sufficient in substance, it does not mean the Vice President is guilty. What it means is simply that the process will move forward to the next stage, where hearings will be conducted, evidence will be presented, and the parties will be given full opportunity to be heard. After the proper hearings and evaluation of evidence, the House will then make appropriate determination, either to dismiss the complaint for lack of sufficient basis, or to elevate articles of impeachment to the Senate, where the Constitution mandates that the impeachment trial shall ultimately take place. To stress, our vote today is not a verdict of guilt, nor an act of condemnation. It is simply a decision on whether the constitutional process should move forward. The House is not an arena for trial by publicity, but an institution bound by due process, fairness, and the rule of law. Our duty today is simply to allow the process, as mandated by the Constitution, to take its proper course. In undertaking this duty, we assure the public that the process will be impartial, fair, and faithful to the Constitution, with full respect for the fundamental right to due process of all parties involved. In this way, we protect not only the rights of the respondent, but also the integrity of our democratic institution and the rule of law. Thank you, Madam Chair.
To form part of the transcript of record, since we are about to cast our vote on the sufficiency in substance of these two impeachment complaints, we would like to direct the committee secretariat to acknowledge the House members who are present at this hearing. Can you please register your presence in today's hearing? As the COMSEC call your names, this is in pursuit of transparency in the exercise of vote that we are about to take. Please call the names of the House members one by one and give them opportunity to at least register their presence.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Honorable Attorney Jervil Jinky Beatrix R. Luistro.
Present.
Honorable Mauricio G. Dumogan. Honorable Attorney Danilo Danny A. Domingo. Honorable Jennifer A. Lagbas. Honorable Alfredo A. Garbin Jr. Honorable Brian Poe, Honorable Jose C. Alvarez, Honorable Jonathan Keith T. Flores, Honorable Isabel Maria J. Zamora,
Present.
Honorable Aniela Bianca D. Tolentino, Honorable Arnie Lavin Roque, Honorable Franz Vincent F. Legaspi, Honorable Emilio P. Tanwaco III, Honorable King George Leandro Antonio V. Collantes, Honorable Ana York P. Bondoc, MD, Honorable Loreto S. Amante, Honorable Jose Joboy S. Aquino II, Honorable Joel R. Chua, Honorable Ernesto M. Junicio Jr., Honorable Arnan C. Panaligan, Honorable Lordan G. Suwan, Honorable Patrick Michael, Honorable Emerson D. Pascual, Honorable Munir M. Arbison.
May we encourage the House members to please use the microphone in registering your presence. Please.
Honorable Janice Degamo, Honorable Bienvenido M. Abante Jr., Honorable Jude A. Asidre,
Present.
Honorable Bernadette S. Barbers,
Present.
Honorable Rufus B. Rodriguez,
Present.
Honorable Chino Miguel D. Almario, Honorable Micaela Angela B. Swansing,
Present.
Honorable Ramon Rodrigo L. Gutierrez,
Present.
Honorable Maria Rene Ann Lourdes S. Matibag,
Present.
Honorable John Attorney J.P. Padiernos,
Present.
Honorable Terry L. Ridon,
Present.
Honorable Alan U.T., Honorable Rene Luis M. Co., Honorable Jose Manuel Tadeo Chel I. Diokno,
Present.
Honorable Sarah Jane I. Elago, Honorable Faustino Boji G.D. III, Honorable Ferdinand L. Hernandez, Honorable Janet L. Garin, Honorable Yaser Alonto Balindong, Honorable Francisco Paulo P. Ortega V,
Present.
Honorable Jefferson F. Konghun, Honorable Christine Singson Mihan, Honorable Christopher Shin P. Gonzalez,
Present with official copy of the letter of SDS Puno.
Honorable Beverly Rose A. Di Macuja,
Present.
Honorable Raymond Democrito C. Mendoza, Honorable Ryan S. Recto,
Present.
Honorable David J.J.C. Suarez, Honorable Ferdinand Alexander A. Marcos, Honorable Lawrence R. Defensor,
Present.
Honorable Julian Jam L. Baronda,
Present.
Honorable Marlin L. Primicias Agabas,
Present.
Honorable Maria Alana Samantha T. Santos, Honorable Zia Alonto Adyong,
Present.
Honorable Ernesto M. Junicio Jr.,
Present.
Honorable Giselle Victoria C.U., Honorable Arnan C. Panaligan, Honorable Eliza Micaela Mica M. Gonzalez, Honorable Marie Bernadette G. Escudero, Honorable Ivan Howard A. Gintu, Honorable Wowo Fortes, Honorable Hill Cabarangay Jr. Acosta, Honorable Adrian J. C. Advincula, Honorable Ana Victoria Veloso Tuazon, Honorable Crispin Diego D. Remulla, Honorable Vincenzo Renato Luigi R. Villafuerte,
Present.
Honorable Jose Bong J. Teves Jr., Honorable Monir N. Arbison Jr.,
Present.
Honorable Ramon Rodrigo L. Gutierrez, Honorable Eduardo R. Rama, Honorable J.C. Abalos,
Present.
Honorable Edgar R. Erice. Wala na, okay. Wala na. Ito. Yeah, okay, wait, sorry. Honorable Presley C. De Jesus, Honorable Sergio C. Dagook, Honorable Kaka J. Bagao, Honorable Stephen James T. Tan,
Present.
Honorable Laila M. De Lima, present. Honorable Percival Percy Sendanya,
Present.
Honorable Antonio L. Tino,
Present.
Honorable Jesus Manuel Bong C. Suntay, Honorable Journey Jet V. Nisay, Honorable Reynolds Michael L. Tan,
Present.
Honorable Shelo Crisel Lagman, and Honorable Walfredo Arman R. D. Magila Jr. All yours.
The chair understands. We acknowledge also, COMSEC, the presence of the Honorable Ilago, as well as the Honorable Bong Teves, and the Honorable Joboy Aquino. The chair understands the difficult decision that the members are about to take. And with that, the chair commends the courage, the disposition, the candor of the members who are present right now to exercise this constitutional duty.
Madam Chair, point of inquiry.
What's the point of inquiry of the Honorable Padiernos?
Madam Chair, before we vote, may we get the guidance of the chairperson as regards to the complaints wherein if you have multiple grounds and you agree to only some of them.
Under the rules, we will be determining the sufficiency in substance on the basis of the entire impeachment complaint. What is being determined is the sufficiency in substance of the complaint and not the individual grounds. We adopted the deliberation that we had in the prior impeachment proceedings, that is by going over all the grounds, only to give a better and wider perspective to all the justice members to come up with their individual judgment. With that, if the members have no other matters to raise, we shall proceed to vote.
Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
The Honorable Rodriguez.
In the PBBM impeachment, we allow the Honorable Laila De Lima to also state that in one of the grounds, he concurs in one, and then the other, she would not. Because for example, this representation, Madam Chair.
If I may interrupt the Honorable
Yes,
Rodriguez.
please. Yes.
The disparity as to the position of the Honorable De Lima is with respect to the first and the second impeachment complaint, but not with respect to the individual grounds.
I am clarified, but can we put on the records, for example, if, for example, in the third complaint, which we are going to vote on, what will happen if 4 of the grounds for example, in my case, just to be able to state, 2 of the grounds, there is substance. 4 of the grounds, no jurisdiction, no substance. How will that be reflected, Madam
With
Chair?
all due respect, the chair has stated already that the rule provides the determination of the sufficiency in substance with respect to the impeachment complaint and not to the individual grounds. Again, we deliberated per ground only to give a better perspective to the justice members in the determination of the sufficiency in substance. In other words, we will be voting on the entire impeachment complaint and not on the individual grounds. And we are not conceiving as well the situation where the members will be manifesting a different position with respect to a respective ground of the impeachment complaint. With that, we shall proceed to vote. The chair is now ready to hear the motion on the sufficiency in substance of the third impeachment complaint, that is Father Sabalia et al. Impeachment complaint endorsed by the Honorable Congresswoman De Lima.
Madam Chair.
The Honorable Asidre is recognized.
Madam Chair, I move that we vote on the sufficiency of substance on the Sabalia et al. Complaint.
May we be given the opportunity to make it more accurate. We
Madam-
need to declare either sufficiency or insufficiency in substance of Sabalia et al. Complaint.
Madam
The
Chair-
Honorable Asidre.
Madam Chair, I move that we declare sufficient in substance the Sabalia et al. Impeachment complaint.
There is a motion to declare the sufficiency in substance of Sabalia et al. Impeachment complaint. The same has been seconded by the Honorable Tino and the Honorable Zamora. Do I hear an objection? No one is objecting?
Objection, Madam.
An objection has been registered by the Honorable Suntay, which means we will proceed to vote. Those who are in favor of the motion, please raise your right hand. Can you higher your hands just to make sure that the Secretariat will come up with an accurate counting? Secretariat, are you okay? Kong Dumogan is here and raising his hand as well. Oh, you may now put down your hands. Those who are not in favor of the motion, those who are not in favor of the motion, please raise your right hand. It's okay. Those who abstain, please raise your right hand. All right, so that concludes the voting. Secretariat, the result, please. For the record, the Honorable Renego just came and she is registering as well her vote for the affirmative. That is in favor of the motion. The vote of Arnon Panaligan is counted already per the Secretariat. With 54 votes in the affirmative, 1 in the negative, and 0 abstention, the Chair declares the sufficiency in substance of Sabala et al. Impeachment complaint. So ruled. Now we proceed to the fourth impeachment complaint, the Cabrera impeachment complaint endorsed by the Honorable Abante and the Honorable Ortega. The Chair is ready to hear the necessary motion.
Madam Chair.
The Honorable Rodriguez.
Before the vote, Once again, I would like to ask, there are 5 grounds on the 4th complaint. This representation believes in the dismissal, no substance in 3, but 2 has substance. How do I vote?
Honorable Rodriguez, it is clear in the rules that we are voting on the entire impeachment complaint. The sufficiency in substance has to be determined on the basis of its entirety and not on the basis of the individual grounds. In other words, it's either you vote in favor of the sufficiency or not in favor of the sufficiency.
Madam Chair, I always agree with the chair.
Thank you. The chair is ready to hear the necessary motion.
Madam Chair,
The Honorable Zamora.
I move to declare the impeachment complaint filed by Attorney Nathaniel Cabrera as sufficient in substance.
There is a motion to declare the impeachment complaint of Cabrera sufficient in substance. Do I hear a second? The same has been seconded. Is there any objection?
Madam Chair, once again, objection.
The same has been objected to. We shall proceed to divide the House. Those who are in favor of the motion, please raise your right hand. Secretariat, are you okay? You may put down your hands. Those who are not in favor of the motion, please raise your right hand. You may put down your hand. Those who abstain, please raise your right hand. That concludes our voting on the 4th impeachment complaint. Secretariat, result, please. With 54 votes in the affirmative, and 1 vote in the negative, with 0 abstention, the chair declares the Cabrera impeachment complaint sufficient in substance. So ruled.
Madam Chair,
The Honorable Zamora.
in view of the finding of the sufficiency and substance of the 2 impeachment complaints, I move to issue notice to the Vice President or the respondent of the impeachment complaints to file her answer to the impeachment complaints within a non-extendable period of 10 calendar days from receipt of this notice. Thank you, Madam Chair.
There is a motion for the issuance of notice to Vice President Sara Duterte for the filing of her answer to the 2 impeachment complaints within the non-extendable period of 10 days. Do I hear a second? The same has been seconded. Is there any objection? Hearing none, the motion is granted. The committee is directed to issue the necessary notice to the respondent. If there are no other matters to be discussed in this committee hearing or to be manifested by the members, the chair is ready as well to hear the necessary motion.
Move to adjourn, ma'am. Move to adjourn.
Our today's committee meeting is hereby adjourned.